All right, welcome in everyone, ready to dive deep. Today we're cracking open a treasure chest of wisdom, all about sales, success, and personal growth.
Ooh, treasure chest. I like that. And yeah, we've got a great one to unpack here. The Mackay MBA of Selling in the Real World by Harvey Mackay. This deep dive is your shortcut to some seriously potent knowledge.
Exactly. Think of it as your backstage pass to the insights, the surprising bits, the stuff that can truly make a difference, and without having to wade through a whole mountain of text. We've distilled it down to what truly matters. No filler.
Mackay really brings it, decades of experience as a successful businessman and author, not just theories, real world stuff.
And the endorsements alone speak volumes.
Sure.
I mean, when you've got the legendary coach Lou Holtz singing your praises, you know you're onto something.
Absolutely. And G. Shimo, that sales guru, hits the nail on the head in the book's opening. Mackay's got this practical, down-to-earth approach that just cuts through the noise.
So for you, the learner, and that's who we're laser focused on here, get ready for some major aha moments, stuff you can immediately grab and use.
Right off the bat, Mackay lays down the foundation. He talks about these core qualities, not just for sales, but for life in general. He says, gotta have that burning desire for success, a real work ethic that never quits.
The kind of energy that, lifts everyone around you. And of course, honesty and integrity that are absolutely unshakable. These aren't just nice to haves, they're the building blocks.
It's not just Mackay saying this either. He points to a study by the Forum Corporation, looked at thousands of salespeople across all sorts of industries. You know what they found?
Hit me with it.
The single biggest thing that separated the top performers, not their fancy skills, not even their knowledge, but their honesty. It's about building that reputation for being straight up, and as we see throughout the book, that has ripple effects.
And Mackay backs this up with a story from his own life. His first job, delivering newspapers, at 10 years old.
10 years old. Wow.
Imagine that, waking up at 4 a.m. every single day, rain or shine, to deliver those papers, often heading straight to school after. Talk about dedication, speed, and reliability. That's some serious early training.
It's crazy how those early experiences shape us, isn't it? And speaking of shaping, Mackay dives into the immense power of belief and mindset. You know that story about Roger Bannister breaking the 4-minute mile?
Well, yeah, classic.
For years, everyone thought it was physically impossible. Then, boom, 1954, Bannister does it. But here's the kicker. Soon after, a bunch of other runners started breaking that barrier too. The training didn't magically change. Humans didn't evolve overnight. The belief shifted.
That's so mind-blowing. It's like once that mental block was shattered, everything became possible.
Exactly. And Mackay says, find your Roger Bannisters, people who have achieved what you're aiming for. He talks about his own admiration for basketball player Jim Pollard, how he studied everything about him, even how he tied his shoes.
So we can actively cultivate that winning mindset by learning from those who've already walked the path.
Exactly. And speaking of walking the path in today's world, Mackay doesn't shy away from the elephant in the room, the digital landscape. For you, the learner, this is huge. He's basically saying, look, in today's world, anyone can find out anything about you instantly.
Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, it's all out there.
And he brings in the expertise of Sam Richter, this guy who's a total whiz at using the internet for sales prep and gathering intelligence.
Richter's No More training, right? I've heard great things about it. Helps you find and leverage online info to boost your sales, understand your customers better. There are even free resources on his website, nomorecenter.com. Mackay even says his own company uses these methods. That's a pretty strong endorsement.
Yeah, it is. And you know what's cool? Richter also has this whole thing on using LinkedIn as an intelligence gathering tool, like building prospect lists, researching clients, old and new, seeing who they're connected to, and basically walking into every meeting already knowing your stuff.
It's like having a digital detective on your side. But Mackay also gives a fair warning. Your online presence can bite back. You know those old photos you wish would just disappear? Or that comment you made years ago?
Oh, yeah.
That stuff can create a negative first impression before you even say hello. So it's ultimate makeover time for your online image.
Take control, make sure what people see reflects the best version of you.
And it's not just about cleaning up the past, but actively building a positive image going forward. Mackay talks about using Twitter strategically, sharing useful info, becoming a source of value. It's about demonstrating your expertise.
Now, beyond the digital, Mackay also digs into those timeless skills and attitudes that never go out of style. Networking, for one, building those genuine connections. And resilience, that ability to bounce back from setbacks, because let's be real, they happen.
He uses this great gold rush analogy. Even when you think all the gold's been mined, there's always more to be found.
And you know what else he stresses? Don't be that person who's always tooting their own horn.
Oh, the self-promoter. Yeah, nobody likes that guy.
Right. Focus on adding value, building relationships, not just talking about yourself.
He talks about the uncommon everyman, referencing Carl Malden, the actor. You don't need to be a flashy superstar. It's about owning your strengths, finding your unique way to contribute.
This really ties into his whole point about humility, even for those who are wildly successful. He mentions Sean Penn and Kate Winslet. Their Oscar speeches were all about gratitude and acknowledging others.
Yeah, those were really powerful moments. And then he tackles something we all struggle with, self-imposed limitations.
Oh man, those are the worst. He uses this great analogy of fleas in a jar. They only jump as high as the lid, even when it's gone.
It's like we get so used to thinking a certain way, we forget we can break free.
And the key to breaking free, according to Mackay, desire. That deep down hunger to achieve something great. It's the fuel that pushes you through the hard work, the sacrifices, the setbacks.
Speaking of fuel, let's shift gears to the importance of teamwork, loyalty, and mentorship. These are big ones for Mackay.
Yeah, he tells this amazing story about Paul Hornung, the football player. He won the Heisman Trophy in college, but wasn't quite living up to expectations in the NFL at first. Then Coach Vince Lombardi comes along and recognizes his unique talent. Specifically, his ability to run near the goal line.
Oh, Lombardi, what a legend.
Right, and under Lombardi's guidance, Hornung becomes a key player in the Green Bay Packers championship wins. The takeaway, it's all about recognizing and leveraging those unique strengths within a team.
And then there's that story about Sergeant Barbosa. Wow, this one stays with you. He's unloading explosives from a burning vehicle, risking his own life, all out of loyalty to his mission and his team. Talk about going above and beyond.
Seriously. And the power of mentors and teachers can't be underestimated either. Mackay talks about Harold Deutsch, his college guidance counselor, as someone who profoundly influenced his path. We all need those people who can offer guidance, support, different perspectives.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the power of imagination and proactive preparation. Two sides of the same coin, really.
Mackay's a big believer in visualization, creating those mental movies of yourself achieving your goals. He uses the example of a kicker in football. It all comes down to one kick, and he's already visualized the ball sailing through the uprights 1,000 times. Even Jack Nicklaus, the golf legend, did this.
See it, believe it, achieve it.
Right. It's not just about picturing success, it's also about prepping for those curveballs life throws at you. Mackay talks about Peyton Manning doing those wet ball drills.
Oh yeah, practicing in tough conditions so you're ready for anything.
Exactly. And that ties into his whole point about not creating a team where everyone is a carbon copy. He calls it the Stepford wife approach.
Creepy and ineffective.
Right. Embrace the different personalities, the unique skill sets. That's where the magic happens.
And to spark that creative thinking, he has some fun exercises. Imagine starting a major foundation or being the CEO in a commercial. It's about pushing those boundaries.
And speaking of pushing boundaries, the story about L. Frank Baum, the author of The Wizard of Oz, totally blew my mind. He imagined things like portable computers, color TVs, wireless telephones, decades before they existed. The power of imagination is unreal.
It's amazing what the mind can conceive. And to tap into that, Mackay suggests simply asking, what if? Explore different possibilities. Who knows what you might discover?
Now let's talk resilience and playing the long game. This is where the wheat gets separated from the chaff, so to speak.
Mackay throws down some serious examples here. Michael Jordan getting cut from his high school basketball team. Henry Ford facing multiple failures before hitting it big. Ernest Hemingway rewriting The Old Man and the Sea countless times. It's about getting back up no matter what.
He tells this hilarious story about a high school basketball coach who would ask his team if famous people had ever quit. Then he throws out a name, Elmer McAllister. Nobody knew who it was. And the coach goes, exactly, because he quit.
That's a great one. I'm stealing that.
Feel free. And even Babe Ruth, arguably the greatest baseball player ever, struck out over 1,330 times. It's proof that failure is part of the process, even for the best of the best.
This reminds me of Malcolm Gladwell's 10,000-hour rule from Outliers. It takes serious time and dedication to master anything.
The Beatles in Hamburg playing those grueling sets night after night. Bill Joy, Bill Gates, they all put in those hours. Deliberate practice, that's the key.
Mackay also really hits home the importance of the human element in sales, and just in general success.
Being likable, showing empathy, these things go a long way. People want to do business with those they connect with. Trust, it's basic human nature.
He even brings up Confucius and his three universally recognized moral qualities: wisdom, compassion, and courage. Not just ethical, but foundational for positive human interactions.
And then there's the story about Charles M. Schwab making a ridiculous salary from Andrew Carnegie, not because of technical skills, but because he knew how to manage and motivate people.
The human touch is powerful stuff. But in this ever-changing world, Mackay stresses the importance of adapting.
He talks about Moore's Law, Metcalfe's Law, basically. Technology is evolving at a breakneck pace. The internet, Google, they've revolutionized how we access information, how we learn. You snooze, you lose.
And through all this change, Mackay emphasizes the importance of a positive mindset. He uses Ray Charles as an example. Blind, yet achieve phenomenal success.
He also says, don't sweat the small stuff. There are so many things outside our control. Focus your energy on what you can influence.
Which brings us right back to the power of persistence and that can-do attitude.
Mackay says the biggest difference between those who achieve and those who don't. Often it's just plain persistence. You know that children's book, The Little Engine That Could?
I think I can.
Exactly. It all starts with believing you can.
And he tells these contrasting stories, like Dr. John Waldhausen, overcoming a serious illness to become a top surgeon, versus Martha Stewart's initial reaction to her legal issues, although he does note that her later adaptation in prison showed some resilience.
And then there are those heartwarming underdog stories. Seabiscuit, Smarty Jones, those wraith horses that captured the hearts of millions. Positive thinking and defying expectations, that's powerful stuff.
Even the 2004 NBA Finals, the Detroit Pistons, a team without any huge stars, beating the heavily favored Lakers. And Phil Mickelson finally winning his first major golf tournament. It's like David versus Goliath, only David wins.
And speaking of winning from within, Mackay dives into positive self-talk and strong character.
He talks about how our internal dialogue shapes our reality. Like that Perry Jones quote about how tennis is a mental game. Every challenge is a test of our mental toughness.
And Mackay lays down his laws of the inner game of selling. Believe in yourself, don't stay down when you get knocked down, learn from your mistakes. He references J.C. Penney, how he bounced back from early setbacks to build a retail empire.
It's a good reminder. Getting knocked down doesn't mean you're out of the game.
Which brings us to that sweet spot, that state of flow. You know, when you're so engrossed in what you're doing, time just disappears.
Yeah, like being in the zone.
Mackay gives some tips on how to achieve that state. Strive for excellence, put in the work, study the greats, project confidence. Think athletes like Federer, Serena, and Venus Williams, LeBron James. They all operate in that zone.
And then Mackay talks about shifting your focus from individual achievement to contribution and having that long-term vision. He tells this great story about Red Auerbach, the legendary Celtics coach, advising Bill Walton to focus on his overall contribution to the team, not just scoring points.
And for anyone struggling in sales or feeling stuck, Mackay says, go back to basics. Revisit your goals, see if your actions are aligned. Sometimes even small gestures can make a huge difference. He shares lots of stories about businesses going the extra mile, and it pays off big time.
He also lays down his 3 rules of the mud puddle. Be decisive, don't dwell on past decisions, and recognize opportunities even in messy situations.
Now let's talk about that journey from obscurity to recognition. It's a path many successful people have walked.
Mackay shares his own experience, starting at Quality Park Envelope. That relentless drive to prove himself. It's about consistently showing your worth, being ready for that opportunity when it comes knocking.
And the story about Lou Holtz, that's inspiring. Small guy, needed glasses, but he wanted to play football, so he learned all the other positions, increasing his chances of getting on the field.
Talk about bringing a big dish to the party.
That's exactly what Google did, right? Revolutionized how we find information, shifted the whole sales landscape from hard sell and soft sell to transparent sell. Everything's out in the open now.
But staying on top means constantly learning, understanding your audience. Mackay calls it the slippery slope.
You can never know too much about your customers, your suppliers, your employees, even your competitors. Incomplete information can be worse than no information. You end up making bad assumptions.
He contrasts Harry, this unconventional but successful salesman, with Earl, who followed all the rules but couldn't close a deal. Different strokes for different folks. He also mentions Alex Mandosian, using teleseminars and electronic marketing, another example of embracing new technology.
And speaking of technology, Mackay talks about generational differences, how younger generations communicate, the rise of social media. It's a whole new ballgame.
Facebook, Twitter, Ashton Kutcher with his millions of followers, Ellen DeGeneres. It's mind-boggling. And he shares all these stats on internet usage, video consumption, e-readers, logging. It's clear the way we communicate has fundamentally changed.
So you got to engage in the social media world strategically.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just be there. You have to listen, see what people are saying about your brand, your industry. Use tools like Topsy to search Twitter, set up alerts.
He mentions companies like Dell using Twitter for customer feedback and support. It's about meeting your audience where they are. And he encourages everyone to participate in online communities that are relevant to their work and their clients' interests.
And staying relevant also means challenging your own mental speed limit, especially as we get older. Mackay says you got to understand the younger generations, how they live, keep up with food trends, use e-readers, explore new apps, maybe even try a video game or two.
Keep that mindset fresh, use language that resonates, even give some advice on selling to techies. Know your stuff, be honest when you don't, keep your explanations clear and concise.
And customer service has totally transformed in the digital age. Mackay talks about Guy Stevens and his insights on LinkedIn, basically saying social media is the new customer service desk.
And those review sites, Angie's List, Yelp, they hold a lot of power. You got to stay on top of your online reputation, what's on YouTube, Facebook, it all matters.
But even with all this tech and all these new strategies, Mackay always comes back to integrity and ethics.
He tells the story of Dr. Seuss, his first book rejected 28 times before it was finally published.
Wow.
It shows the fine line between failure and success and how crucial honesty and ethical behavior are, especially now.
He mentions companies like Raytheon and Honeywell, raising their ethical standards, even appointing ethics officers. There's a growing awareness that doing the right thing is good for business.
Mackay includes a self-test for ethical behavior, some questions to ponder, and then there's that incredible example of Bobby Jones at the U.S. Open, calling a penalty on himself that nobody else saw.
Talk about integrity.
And then there's Danny Bonaduce, his very public struggles, a cautionary tale about the consequences of bad choices.
Character takes time to build, even longer to rebuild if it's damaged. Trust your gut and get honest feedback from others to make sure you're on the right track.
Finally, Mackay drives home the power of positive thinking and that unshakable belief in yourself. It's what helps you overcome challenges and achieve great things.
He shares Scott Hamilton's perspective, how facing adversity can actually build self-esteem. And then there's Muhammad Ali, the ultimate example of self-belief. Leaders, whether in sports or business, they all believe in their potential for greatness.
And lastly, Mackay reminds us how important it is to understand the market. You can be ahead of the trends, you can ride the wave, but it's tough to succeed if you're fighting against the tide.
And he lays out his blue ribbon recipe for sales success, a whole list of qualities that make a great salesperson. Passion, persistence, personality, planning, trustworthiness, and many more. Persistence, as we've seen, is key.
He also recommends some books for anyone who wants to up their sales game. Classics like Think and Grow Rich, The Greatest Salesman in the World, Spin Selling, great resources for lifelong learning.
And finally, Mackay gives us his alphabet of selling, alphabetical principles for success, from attitude to zeal, and 10 Commandments too, an updated version focused on positive action.
So, the learner, as we wrap up this deep dive into Mackay's wisdom, let's zoom in on a couple of key takeaways. First, those core qualities, honesty, strong work ethic, a burning desire to achieve, they're the bedrock, not just for sales, but for any kind of success. And second, while skills and knowledge are important, it's often the power of your belief in that resilient mindset that really determines how far you'll go.
And on that note, given Mackay's emphasis on constant learning and adapting, what's one skill or area of knowledge you, our listener, are feeling drawn to explore right now?
It's a great question to ponder. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We hope you found Mackay's insights as valuable as we did.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing,
and keep diving deep.